we are going into episode 21, series 2 of the Life Change Transformation podcast. So my name is May Blankford. I'm a transformational coach here in Cork in Ireland. And I'm joined as always by co-host Gary Benoit, all the way from Edmonton, Alberta. Actually, no, Calgary, Alberta in Canada. So one of your changes in life
Mhm.
recently, Gary, to move location. And Gary is an author and a speaker. He's licensed in the financial industry, and his book, A Call for Service, speaks to his previous career as a police officer and some life-changing experiences during that time, and a beautiful insight into how we navigate change in life as well. So we come together today to talk about the whole topic of emotional well-being. This is part of a series on radical well-being, around which I have a card deck and I do a short coaching program. And we look at four dimensions of well-being. So we've already within this series looked at physical well-being and mental well-being, and today our topic is emotional well-being.
Yes.
So, Gary, how would you like to kick us off on this one? We've
I
had some
think
conversation already.
I think I'd like to just talk about that we all have emotions, right? We all have those emotional moments, and like yesterday was one of those moments for me. I had one of those moments where um, things weren't going the way I would have loved, and it really and there was an experience I had with a loved one, and it was one of those moments where I felt a little bit. A bit down. You call it down in the doldrums, that's something
Hmm.
that's a term you use. And I think it's important, like, to know that, we're rolling through this stuff in our own lives and our own experiences, and we're on here and we're taking this journey together. And I think it's so neat because ultimately we all have those emotional moments. I think it's important to know what to do with those emotional moments,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's what today's podcast can really highlight for people is what it is that we can do in those, maybe in those not so great moments, and also do it when you're having those amazing moments, what to do as well to really solidify that as your new way of being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So would you like to share a little bit about what helped you yesterday with getting through that down in the doldrum feeling?
Yeah, basically what what it was for me really, I was just maybe coming back to just the gratitude of what I had experienced, having conversations with. I had a conversation with the one that I love, that my wife, who had this experience and had this opportunity, and we just kind of talked it out in a way that made a lot of sense, and I was able to really and I didn't go from like feeling down to like amazing. I just went from to the neutral setting basically about it.
Feeling a bit
I
better?
was really to neutralize that feeling. And so really what it was just understanding and being aware. I'm aware of the feeling I was having, which was disappointment. I had some disappointment. I had some sadness, right? And then I had some thoughts about my dream and my vision and what I would love to do in the speaking world, and some of the and then all the things that weren't happening in that moment were coming up for me, right? And so I had a lot of moments of like, hey, well, I had this no and that no and that no, and I was going through some of those moments of like, and you keep putting your foot forward, but ultimately what I was doing is I was charging that negative side. I was really spiraling. I recognized in myself that I was starting to do that downward. I was stacking all of the losses in that moment. And then really what I did was I just recognized that I became aware of that pattern, because it's a pattern for me. And maybe it's a pattern for you. Maybe it's a pattern for many people who have that. I think we have those moments, right?
Sure.
And then it was just about being okay with it in the moment, right? I was okay. I'm like, this is fine. I'm feeling it. I'm just going to feel it for the moment. And I gave myself a timeline. I gave myself like I'm going to take an hour. I'm just going to sit here in this moment. It didn't take an hour to come out of it, but that's what I gave myself. I gave myself no more than 60 minutes to be here. And
Hmm.
that having that structure really helped, because by about 35 minutes, I was already starting to come out of it because I had started to change my thoughts
Yeah.
and just became aware. And I became grateful for all the opportunities I have had. And I became really grateful for the opportunity that was facing my wife in that moment. I'm super grateful for her opportunity, and I think it's gonna, and then we thought about all the ways that that opportunity can lead to new opportunities, even for me, right? Because I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what's going to come from all of it, right? So I think, and that really changed. And then I got to a point where I was very like, "Yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
This is going to be okay." And so even though we had those moments, um, and I didn't come back and I wasn't like cheering off the balcony essentially, right? But I came back to a point where I felt pretty good about it after that, after we had that time and that 1 hour and those conversations. Does that kind of answer that question? Does that kind of get the point across a little bit there?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, if we were to unpick it a little bit, just kind of like, so, you're going about, you're taking your steps, doing your thing, building your vision, and then you're getting some setbacks along the way, and
Right.
and then someone you know and love gets an opportunity that you would have loved to have as
Right.
well. And what do we do in those moments, right? So I would just to unpick it a bit like that, noticing what I'm noticing. I don't like this. And then I start to stack. So again, for those of you listening today, if you think of yourself in those moments when we get the setback and we have a disappointment, and then we the stacking is where like, oh, and that's not working. And then remember she said that to me last week and that really hurt.
Yeah.
And we go on that kind of downward spiral. Um and it hurts, right? And it's a not very happy place to be. It's painful. And there's some things we can do. So we notice
Correct.
again that I'm on this spiral. So that's our first key always to be able to capture it. And then to be able to maybe bring some compassion in the moment as well.
Yeah.
And then to start thinking about, well, what can I do? What's a different perspective I can take? And you were able to say, well, maybe there would be opportunities for both of us out of this event, and maybe there's things that are positive in it.
Hmm.
We didn't mention this earlier when we were talking about today's call, but we often talk about by spiritual law, there has to be a seed of equal or greater good in this experience.
Correct.
And it doesn't feel like that in the moment, but when we get, a little bit more just at ease with the fact that it has happened, not saying we like it, but we've gotten over the
Yeah.
initial upset and disruption that it's caused, to be able to say there has to be good in this. There
Right.
has to be, right?
Right.
Um, and that takes a degree of maturity and kind of spiritual fortitude to be able to go there in those moments of disappointment for sure.
Right.
And yet therein is the kind of the shift
And I
creates
think, yeah, 100%. And I agree. There's those moments where because we all have emotions. We can't deny we're emotional beings, right? Our emotions, um, they're gonna come and some are gonna be amazing. You're gonna feel amazing, and it's gonna be on this like you're on cloud nine because we have those moments, right, where things are working and everything's falling into
yeah
place, and you just like, oh my God, and you're just like, that's fantastic, right? But it's about solidifying that as being a new normal, right? If you're having those moments, if everything's working out for you, you need to like really lean into that. But the thing that I would love to just to highlight here is that something you said is you can't do a bypass. You can't just if you're having one of those bad moments, well, not bad's not the right word. If you're having one of those moments or feelings where you're not feeling great, things don't aren't working, and you can't just stuff it away.
yeah
You can't bypass it. You just have to feel it. You have to be in that moment. And when I look back and I think about, really, it comes back to this. Like I thought I was really good. If you read my book, if you haven't, I talk about all of the things that I had experienced, and I would sort of stack them up instead of like unpacking them and feeling them and being in that moment when it happened. I just stacked them up, put them away, stuffed them down. Right. Well, it ended up causing me some great difficulty later on in life. you know, After 10 years of that, I just couldn't do it anymore. So it's no different than here. You're going to have those moments. And so you can't just do I'm just not going to deal with that. I'm just going to continue on and I'm just going to, because ultimately that narrative starts running in your subconscious.
yeah yeah So what do you do, Gary, to kind of process it, to
Hmm.
give some attention to it without getting stuck in it? What
Hmm.
are some of the things that help with that?
So once again, and the one thing is I give myself a time, so I don't pitch a tent there. I don't stay there. I don't pitch that tent. I give myself a time limit. If I'm going to feel it, it's whatever. If it's a larger disappointment or feeling of and you'll know when you have that real like letdown, like you feel like the air has been taken right out of your tires. The bigger that is, that you may need more time. And depending on where you're at in this process, depending how proficient you are at it, because this is the work, right? This is that work of transformation. You may need more time, but you set yourself a time limit. If it's 30 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, if it's an hour, if it's a day, if it's 3 days, whatever that is for you, just don't stay there for too long, right?
Mm.
And then was able to go back to my vision. I
Yeah.
reevaluated, right? Reevaluated. Is this still for me? I actually asked the question of, you know, if this is still for me, then increase my desire, excitement, and passion for this dream. And if it's not, then redirect me, right? I've asked spirit for that direction. And then I was able to really look at it from a perspective. I just kind of evaluated all of the things that came up. Like, I know exactly why she was picked. I know, and I'm really happy. I'm super happy for her. I'm grateful for her. Like, I think it's amazing. And I'm excited for her. And part of the reason why she was picked was part of the work I had done with her in our other business. And so
Hmm.
I'm like, well, I had a hand in this. So really, like, it's really
It's a compliment
it's a
to both of
compliment,
you.
right? It's a compliment to both of us, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of like good. And so that's kind of the process I went through, and it doesn't it's not really cumbersome. It just takes a bit of time to really just sort of unpack it. I had a great conversation with her about it, and it was really fantastic in the fact that we could just sort of like unpack the whole thing kind of minute by minute or
Mhm.
feeling by feeling. And then when I became more neutral, I went back to my vision and I just sat with my vision and I meditated yesterday and I really took a lot of time. I probably had like a good 35 or 40 minute just in my own thoughts, in meditation with the vision, just reconnecting in that way, and then leaning back into the faith and the belief piece.
Yeah.
Um, because like faith, it just knows, right? Like if that's what faith does for you, it doesn't, right? It gives you that ability to know. And so I think that's really, really important. I think the saying I'm looking for is faith doesn't question, faith just knows.
Faith doesn't question, faith just knows.
Right.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so, then I sat there and really by the end of the night, I was in a great place. And like I said, we had a good conversation this morning about it. I still had those, you could still go back to those feelings. Like, it's, have those disappointments and it's good to unpack it. And I think talking about it with someone who you respect, and
Hmm.
maybe it's not the person you're partner with, maybe it's not your spouse, but maybe it's someone else, right? Just to
Yeah.
have that conversation, who's going to hold space for you, much like you did for me this morning. We had a conversation back and forth about some certain things because, but you know what, we
Sure.
we both have stuff.
Well, yeah, because we're human,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And so I think, and that what that does is it brings the and now like emotionally, when you think we talk about emotional well-being, right? I emotionally feel very, very grateful right now in this
Yeah.
moment, for
Yeah.
you and for her and for the coaching and for the mentorship and all of the stuff, all the things I've learned. I'm grateful for my vision, and then really it's just about bringing that emotional state back to a place where
Yeah.
you feel good.
Yeah. And I think here bringing in gratitude is a great place to go next, because that capacity to practice gratitude, to call in gratitude, to
Mm.
generate gratitude, gratitude, like you just said, for the mentorship, for the support, for the friendship, even in the midst of the challenge, right?
Mhm.
And it's some of those things are the things that make the challenge, worth having, to have that realization of the
Yeah.
support that's there again, and some of those things. So yeah, I think, in terms of emotional well-being, having a good gratitude practice for any of us can really help. Really, really help. Um,
If you're in those moments, if you're in those, what do you, is there anything different that you consider doing? Because maybe it's a little
I
different.
think, yeah, and I mean, again, I suppose that just being able to sit with it a bit, like in all the research, and this can be a tough one, right? But actually, in all the research that I've read, when we can sit with the emotion, right? So I don't know who had said this. Somebody said that like all the problems are in the world come from man and woman's inability to sit with things they don't want to sit with. So if we can just sit with the emotion and it, I'm feeling disappointed, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling angry, whatever it is, just if we can just sit with that, 90 seconds is all it takes for the surge of chemicals associated with that emotion to just pass through the body.
Okay.
And our pain comes from we add a story to it. We stack, like you were saying,
Yes.
and we say,
Yes.
oh, and this happened and that happened, and she did this to me, and on it goes. So if we don't add a story to it, in 90 seconds, that kind of it's it's like this tide, the tide, the wave
Mm-hmm.
comes up of
Mm-hmm.
emotion and then it recedes. So I've really tried to, and this is work in progress, right? But I have really tried to be able to allow it to fill up and to recede without adding the story. And in those moments of recession, then to be able to say, what do I want to call in instead? I want to call in, belief that I can still have this vision, or, gratitude for the support and the kindness that's here for me at the moment, whatever it is, but call. So we don't want to leave a vacuum when it does recede. You want to call in what you want to feel instead. And literally, I mean, I've been known to just set my phone for the 90 seconds to just, and just stay, and then let it go.
Okay.
But the truth is that you might do that like 5 times in an hour, in the first, but you're just we have to process the emotion. Our challenge is to process it and not try to stuff it down or resist it. We know again what we resist persists. So we have to let it go. We have to let it work through. And I mean, other things I do, Gary, that we hadn't even mentioned earlier, but like I use Tai Chi. I find that great. Just again, a lot of pain in the body, but also emotional pain. It's just stock energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emotion is energy in motion, emotion. So our job is to keep it moving, keep it
Got it.
moving, keep it
Mm-hmm.
moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I would use Tai Chi for that. But again, just to go on a walk or, put on some music, dance around, but just shift the energy, and that can really help. And of course, breath work as well would be something just to, on the out breath, just, I'm breathing in and then I'm breathing out the tension. I'm breathing in calm, or I'm breathing in belief, or I'm breathing in possibility, and I'm breathing out the disappointment or whatever it is. So just releasing, releasing, releasing. They'd
Mm-hmm.
be some of the things I would do. And the other thing that I've really learned and that we talked about briefly this morning was kind of that when I talk to people about, shifting your energy. I know for me in the beginning, I thought like you had to go from down in the doldrums to, I'm the woman in my vision and it's all worked out and I love my life. And is it possible to do that? Yes, but it's difficult to go from very low frequency to very high frequency. So again, just to be able, like getting to neutral, right, is a
Mm-hmm.
massive shift.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great place to be. And then, when I'm in neutral, I start to maybe feel a bit more gratitude, and I and
Mm-hmm.
I can start to feel a bit maybe more courage is creeping in again now. And again, it's another
Yeah.
shift in my energy. So again, it's not about, denying the pain and trying to get to, oh, I'm so happy and grateful for an amazing life, but to just be able to move up. And we feel the shifts in our energy. Like neutral feels very different to completely abject disappointment. And courage feels a bit higher than neutral, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things, we know that. So again, sometimes just to say like what's a more empowering thought I can have here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we know, even though we're talking about emotional well-being, we know that feelings follow thought. So when I can shift my thinking and I can think a more empowered, perspective on my situation, then my feelings start to rise in
Right.
line with that.
Right.
So I suppose there's some of my go-to strategies
Hmm.
in those moments.
I had a thought about if you're brand new to this, if you're brand new to this idea and you're living your life and you're just trying to change your own perspective, emotional well-being is really key to that perspective change, I think. I think when it comes to wherever you're at in your life, right? Um, and I think having an awareness around what your dominant emotion is and how you can live better and maybe slightly more energized by just understanding your emotional range, right? Um, when I was at the bottom in 2010, my driving emotion was anger. I was just angry. And if you're brand new to this idea of like, I didn't go from angry to like where I am now. You know what I'm saying? That's why I love the idea
Yeah.
of the steps because I think you have to realize if you're upset or angry or you're disappointed or you're having these moments all the time in your daily routines and you're in your the run of life and you're having that moment of like you just feel drained or you feel angry or you feel whatever that feeling is for you. Um, just a little 1% different can start to create difference in your
Yes.
right. And so I think it's great to know
Yes.
that you know what we're talking about it from a vision perspective. But if you've never visioned before, just make a list of all the things you don't want to have in your life, right? And that'll take. So now you know what you don't want. So then ultimately the reverse of that is what you would love or what you would want. And then the emotions that you're experiencing, if you can just look at your emotional well-being and say, okay, what if I said one really great thing to someone today, or I paid a compliment to myself today.
Yeah.
How much better would I feel in that moment, right? And so you can start to change that emotional impact because ultimately,
Yeah.
when you talk about your thoughts, of course, it's thoughts and it create your feelings, right? So those emotions,
Feelings. Yeah.
right? And so if you start to really look at that and start to really make that a little bit better, you can really start to see a significant change in a short order if you're just taking just little steps along the way.
Incremental steps, yeah. And I think, I mean, pretty much everything we do is incremental. Um, and I would say this is why in all domains of our lives, including our well-being, right, we have a vision for that. And this is the power of the vision, right? So because I can be looking at my current conditions and circumstances, and some I like, some I don't. But if I'm getting caught up in what I don't like, being able to say, and this is who I'm becoming, this is what I'm moving towards, this is what I want to create and manifest in my life, straight away you start to feel better, right? Because now you have direction and clarity
Yes.
and a sense of possibility again. So that's where vision, I would say, is an important aspect of our emotional well-being because it gives us a place to hang our thoughts and hang our attention even while there's certain stuff that we're not liking at the
Right.
moment.
And I think that that ties into that growth mindset piece and the ability to make that connection with people and the ability to connect with your own self, right? To connect with yourself and your people that are around you. I think it
Yeah.
does add to that ability.
Yes, yes. And the connection piece is very important. And I would, I think Deepak Chopra, he was in one of his books, Quantum Body, one of his recent books, he was saying that like in the science, when we're looking at well-being and health and all of that, that there's very few things that we really have to absolutely nail. And one of those is our connection with people. That human beings, when we're born, we're so unable to look after our own needs, right? We're like human babies are completely dependent on adults around them
Yep.
to survive, right? So that social connection, babies make that social connection with their caregivers because they're so dependent on the caregiver for food and to change them and feed them and keep them warm and look after their physical needs, right? And their emotional needs. So we're hardwired to create community and have connection with other people. And we know in the world like loneliness is an epidemic
Hmm.
in modern Western society anyway. And it's because people are deprived of that social connection or
Right.
depriving themselves of that social connection. So I think for all of us as part of our emotional well-being, you want to really be thinking about, who am I connecting with? And yes, we talk about connection with self and connection with spirit. That's part of the connection piece. But it is about other people as well. And how can I be the phrase we use here, Gary, often is, be that person of increase where
Hmm.
you're making connection with people and you're adding value to their day. And that might just be like smiling at somebody. You make eye contact with somebody and you
Hmm.
wave them out in traffic. It could be holding the door for
Hmm.
somebody or
Hmm.
helping them put their stuff in the boot of a car in a busy car park. It doesn't have to be massive stuff, but it's definitely about creating connection and I don't think that would be enough, just the holding the door and the eye
Hmm.
contact. I mean, we want to have people that we can speak to and um share the down moments with. And oftentimes we hold back. We're afraid maybe that people don't want to listen or that they don't care or whatever. But to know that actually to create connection requires a little bit of vulnerability, right? So to be able
Yes.
to say, I'm feeling a bit isolated at the moment, or to ask, would you be interested in meeting up for lunch someday? I'd love to just hang out and have some company. To put ourselves out there a little bit. And will everybody say yes? Not necessarily, but most of them will, I would say, because they're equally hardwired to create connection,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say to really um create those opportunities. And I was doing a call last night on emotional connection. I was talking about my mom, and I don't think she ever listens to my podcast, and she wouldn't mind me saying this, but like she's just amazing. She's 87 this year, and like she goes through her calendar literally on the weekend. She'll look at her calendar and she'll plot, what activities have I on next week? And it might be a haircut or might
Hmm.
be going to the doctor's surgery, right? But she tries to have something every day. And if there isn't an appointment or a planned meet with a friend, she'll say, okay, well, I'll do my shopping on the day that there's nothing else happening because then I'll meet people in the store. And she's a great woman to say, well, I'll just go out for a walk if it's 5 or 10 minutes just around the local footpaths. And she's like, you always meet somebody on a walk,
Yeah.
and people stop and chat. And it might just be 2 minutes interaction with somebody, but that's enough to make you
Hmm.
feel like you've had a nice exchange with somebody and
Hmm.
that you've had that emotional connection. So really inviting those of you listening today to think about, am I doing enough of that for myself? Can I be that person of increase for others to say yes to the cup of coffee or whatever it is? And then last night on the call, I did invite people to kind of do a bit of an inventory of who am I hanging out with, right? And who am I connecting with all together? Jim Rowan said that we are the sum of the five people that we spend most time with. So, am I spending time with people who have a growth mindset? Am I spending time with people who, have their own vision and their own goals and they believe in possibility? Or am I spending time with people who are more often than not down in the doldrums and who are stuck in their conditions and sometimes there's some people and you feel you're talking to them and no matter what you say, you can't help or you can't lift them and you just feel bad coming away from them. So I would say, how can I spend more time with the balcony people
Hmm.
who have
Hmm.
that higher perspective? And how can I limit time with people who are just down in the doldrums and in the basement and who are stuck there and no matter what don't seem to want to make a difference. And we don't judge anybody. Like we're all having our own experience here. We're all doing our best. And it's not that people are defined as balcony people or basement people, right? We're all only one thought away from either of those perspectives. but to be with people who more often than not are, higher energy, higher frequency, higher perspective people, and limit time with the people whose energy just kind of drags us down a little bit.
Hmm. Hmm.
And to be discerning about that, and to know that it's okay to be discerning about that, and to say I get to choose, right? I have dominion. Um and to set yourself up, and to know that it is in service of your emotional well-being to be around people who lift you up,
Hmm.
and make that a decision and a choice for yourself.
Hmm. As we come to the end here, we wrap things up a little bit. It's been a quick 30 minutes, but um, I would love to just bring up that the thing that I want to leave people with is one, awareness is important. I think that's important, have awareness.
Yes.
Two, know that you can feel what you're feeling. It's okay to feel what you feel. It doesn't matter what it is. And know that you have the ability to change it, right? So just know deep down
Yes.
you have the ability to change it. Number three, if you're living in a space that doesn't light you up, change your space. Do
Yeah.
something with your space that lights you up. You know what I'm saying? So there's ways we can, there's ways you can do that just in your immediate physical environment to make you have that lift up of feeling.
Yeah.
If it's creating more light, if it's putting out flowers, if it's whatever that is for you that you love. So those are some of the things that I want people to consider, is that have the awareness, understand that you can, as soon as you're aware of what you're feeling and how you're feeling in that moment, you can actually then make a decision for a change. If you don't pitch a tent there,
Yeah.
don't stay there, right?
Yeah.
And then when you just know for yourself that when you do decide to make that change, it doesn't have to be a quantum leap change. It can be just a 1% different,
An incremental
right?
change.
Right. An
Absolutely.
incremental change to that. And even if you get
Yeah.
back, if you go from feeling terrible to neutral about it, man, celebrate the crap out of that, because that is fantastic, right? Because that's how you can
Yeah.
really start to change that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything on your
And
half?
yeah, I'm just gonna say, there's a guy, Rick Hansen, and he's still writing, but one of his books was called Buddha's Brain. And he talked about in that book, when it's, maybe 10 years old now, but he talked about how, I think the phrase he used was that our brain is like Velcro to the negative, right? Captures it, keeps it, and it's like Teflon to the positive, and it like the positive just slides away, right? So I think we have to do the work ourselves to we always notice the negative, and it's like we have this filing cabinet of all the times we got hurt and all the challenges. And we want to fill up another drawer in that filing cabinet with all
Yep.
the good times, with all the happy memories, with all the successes. And we have to do a little bit more, I think, with those. We can't just have them. We do have them, but we have to actually activate bedding them in as memories and as
Mm.
as kind of felt feelings. So like he would just say, when you have the memory or you have the moment, to just stay in it for a few seconds longer, like 15, 20 seconds. This isn't about hours of our time, but just to stay with that feeling of success or pride or gratitude or joy or love, and just, yes, more of this, please. I love this. And there's actually a little exercise you can do to tap in the middle of your forehead, in that kind of the third eye space. It's between the eyebrows and about an inch up. And again, just for 5, 10 seconds, just to tap it in, that joyful feeling, that happy experience. And it's like it sends that wave through your nervous system to recognize happiness, right? And as we do that, we recognize that there's a lot of it around when I'm aware of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would say again, it's that choice and that perspective piece to to focus. We talk sometimes about the reticular activating system in the brain, right? When we are paying attention to something, we see more of it. So when I'm paying attention to what's good in my life, and the happy memories, and the happy instances that continue, and
Hmm.
I'm tapping them in, I will absolutely experience and feel more of it. And when I'm
Hmm.
looking for, we were talking a little bit about surrounding yourself with people who are growth mindset people, and, high frequency in terms of their perspective. The quickest and the fastest way for any of us here today, and if you're listening to the recording, the fastest way that you can experience more of those people in your life is to be that person for others.
Correct.
So again, just check in with yourself. Do I bring a growth mindset when my friends come to me, when my kids come to me and they're worried about something, or they've had a disappointment? Do I tell them, yeah, life's a bitch, or do I kind of say, yeah, you've got this, and I know it hurts at the moment, but man, like, there's all these other things and you're doing great, and I'm
Hmm.
holding that vision for you, and I see you as, the capable, divinely
Hmm.
inspired person you
Hmm.
are.
Hmm.
And the more we can be that for others, the faster we'll attract it into our own lives as
Hmm.
well. So
Hmm.
just a couple of ideas there to
Right.
really shift our energy and our perspective, and really build a sense of emotional well-being and
Which
care
is
of self.
fantastic because I love the Velcro idea and the Teflon idea because how quickly we forget all the wins and
That's the thing.
how
Yeah.
fast we remember all the things we didn't win on.
Well, exactly. And I mean,
And how
and
fast
our
is that,
listeners
right?
know this.
Um,
Gary, like, was it just last month or maybe the month before you guys did your tour of the
yeah,
States,
yeah,
right? And you were on a high and
yeah,
it
yeah.
was amazing, and it still is, right?
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Again, this is for all of us.
right. It's for everybody. All right. Anything that's you want to got it coming up in the next little bit here? So over the summer, is it just kind of is that business kind of going the same way? Any big
So
events?
yeah, no major events over the summer. I would say my Radical Wellbeing deck is on
Yep.
my website.
Yep.
It's available. I think we were putting the link into the recordings at the moment. And just to say, for again, in terms of our emotional well-being, right, we need the rest, right? I'm sure in Alberta, no less than here in Ireland at the minute. It's like, we're coming, the exams are over for the students. Most of the primary schools are probably all out this week if they haven't finished already. So like we're really coming into summer season, and to be able to take the opportunity, right? Take the holidays and make
Hmm.
make those emotionally strong memories in terms of happy
Hmm.
days and happy
Hmm.
times, and to trust that, as we take the rest, as we have the holidays, we're that's all part of our vision too, right? That's all part of how we can be at our best
Yeah.
to enjoy those times, and to take the breaks, and to know that even as I do that, my business is growing, or my work is continuing
Hmm.
to flourish, even while I'm on holidays and on
Hmm.
a break. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, and nothing really over the summer for me either. Just like I say, we're just kind of we're ramping up for some of the stuff in the fall. Some new stuff coming in the fall, so that'll be on a future episode. As well, my book's always on Amazon, so I would love if you were to tap into that and just take a read, and that'd be fantastic. Um, it's been great having this conversation. I needed it. I needed it today. This was for me. This whole today was amazing for me. It was fantastic. I hope it was for you too out there who's listening. You're tuning in, and you're hopefully you got a bunch of stuff out of this. If and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us and connect with us. We'd love to have that conversation with you. And join us in the next 2 weeks. We're going to be talking a bit about the law of vibration and what that looks like, and how important the law of vibration is to your success. So, anyways,
Okay.
thank you very much. We will see you in 2 weeks, and
Have a great summer.
have a great summer.
Absolutely.